Hello, I hope you're all doing well. Unfortunately, WebEx lessons or WebEx use of is only available to full-time Seneca employees only. So I tried my darndest yesterday to set one up so that we could maybe have one today or tomorrow, but I don't think that's going to be the case. That said, I haven't heard those of you who have asked me questions have sent an email, and so I'm going to cover a lot of that material today. There's been a handful of questions, but realistically, I think this group will do very well. You are on your way out of the program. You know how to find the rules. You know how it all works by this point. So I'm not too worried, but what I have done is I've opened up the memo I sent you and posted on Blackboard, JAS 423 Exam Overview Winter 2020, and I'm basically just going to walk through the material at this time. I'm going to do a little lecture on Rule 20 before we do that, but realistically, this should be short, 20 minutes tops hopefully, and you'll get a sense sort of what you need to know for the final. So the final, you'll know about it. You'll know how to do it better than I do because I'm new at this, and you will have probably already done some already. So yeah, that's sort of where we are. I'm going to come in and upload all the exam tomorrow, and then it'll be ready for exam day. So yeah, it's coming to an end. Again, we thank you for your patience, and you'll be ready for Thursday. So don't worry. You have to maintain the ethics and professionalism that you're required. So please keep that in mind. Realistically, you'll have this book. It's all you'll need. Maybe study sheets just help you get in places. But realistically, we understand we can't police this. So we just humbly beseech you to do your best to keep a high ethical standard, knowing that one day during your career you may be put in a situation where you might have to make a tough ethical or professional based decision. So please keep that in mind. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing, as it were. So okay, let's get started. So as I said, test aids. Officially all you will have access to is this and your study sheet, and but the book will be all you really need, I think. And frankly, the book is better than if you were, to do it online and open the statute. No. This book is beautiful, and I love it. So just keep in mind that when we're covering everything we've done past the midterm. So remember, we had a quiz, we had a midterm, and that's where we're going here. But there is a little bit on the Courts of Justice Act, so just keep in mind that in mind for any appeals. Again, not something that we've done in the latter half, but it might appear somewhere else. So keep that in mind. And let's just turn to the small claims section. Let's start with Rule 9. So when dealing with defenses. So just be prepared. The form that's used to file a defense. And if a party in a question has to bring a defense forward at small claims, how do you do it? What do the rules say about a defense? Defendant who wishes to dispute a plaintiff's claim, etc. The timing to file a defense, the information required on the defense, the form, and so on. So nice and easy. Now, what is a defense? Move on. Rule 10, a defendant's claim. So, a defendant's claim. Defendant may make a claim against the plaintiff. Okay, so that's your counter. Against any other person arising out of the transaction or occurrence relied upon the plaintiff or related to the plaintiff's claim, or against the plaintiff or against another person. So that's your cross or your third-party claim. Okay, so just have a sort of a sense of that. If if I was being sued but wanted to sue a provider or a third party, that's sort of it. So just get know your defense claim. We miss default proceedings, so we go through amendments, striking out, stay, and dismissals. The general power. I mean, again, it's small claims rules are much shorter than the rules of civil procedure. So, just what happens when you need to motion to strike out or amend a document, stay, what effect this has generally on the matter itself. So have sort of a sense of that. Again, Rule 13. Settlement conferences. So we know they are an integral part. Okay, let's have a look. A settlement conference required in defended action. A settlement conference shall be held in every defended action. Okay, so if we have a defense of any kind, there's going to be a settlement conference brought about. And sort of what is the purpose of the settlement conference? We go down to 13.03. The purposes: resolve and narrow the issues, encourage settlement, assist the parties in effective preparation for trial, encourage full disclosure, and basically this is the judge's opportunity to read the riot act to the parties. This is not going to work well for you. This is not going to work well for you. You need to get it together. This is what I would do if I saw this happening. So the judge really uses the opportunity to make sure everybody is treating the process with the respect it deserves. So that's sort of what I've seen anyway. But what it means, who has to go. What happens if a party doesn't want to get involved? No, let's just go to trial, whatever. So make sure you have that sort of idea as well. Offers to settle, Rule 14. Okay, so when can they come about? What how does this work? So a party may serve on any other party and offer to settle a claim on terms specified in the offer. So how does this all work? What is the timing? The acceptance. When can it be accepted? Cost, consequences. That sort of thing. So just have a sense. Again, get ready. All of the above will have sort of your problem question. And it's all short answers, okay? So you can expect the usual short answer that you've seen for the past many years, okay? You got your fact pattern, you got your questions, right? So, and again, it's you're going to be in the same neighborhood very often and a lot of the time. So you just have to know how to find things quickly, because it is a 2-hour exam. You may think it's not because you got 12 hours to write it, but don't. It's a 12-hour exam in that it's available to you for that time, but it's once you get started, you have to save and go because it's 2 hours. So go to the bathroom, have your glass of water close if that's what you want, have your cup of tea close if that's what you want. I mean, in that respect, you're given a little more leeway than anything else, but make sure you can find your answers quickly. Motions, you know what motions are. You know why they exist, right? So when two parties can't figure out a procedural matter, then the party will bring a motion and have it settled by a judge. They're part of the process, but again, you notice the motion with supporting affidavit, responding affidavits, and that sort of thing. So just make sure that you have a sense sort of what a motion's all about and how to do it, how to serve, and so on. Notice the trial, very small. Trial itself, what happens if a party does not attend? Conditions. What happens if it's adjourned? What if it's been adjourned multiple times? So what happens if there is, we'll get to that a little later. Inspection, a trial judge may, in the process of the, in the presence of the parties or their representatives, inspect any real or personal property. So, field trips or whatever concerning to that, and Yeah, so just from there, what happens at the trial? Moving on, Rule 18, evidence at the trial. How does a party bring evidence? What details need to be served upon the other party? Look at that 18(2) sub 3. A party who serves on another party a written statement or document described in sub rule 2 shall append to it and include a statement of the name, the telephone address, the information of the author, and so on. So, just have a sense of sort of what happens at trial. How do we get witnesses there? Summons to witnesses, Form 18A, and so on. What happens if failure to remain in attendance, and so on. So, again, rules, very straightforward. You just know, you by this time know how to get there. Just do so. Cost, consequences, Rule 19. What happens if a party wins? When do we start receiving sort of the real cost consequences? So, think about your Rule 49 and that sort of thing with regard to the rules of civil procedure. But yeah, so there's that. Okay, now we're at 11:30 of this video. I now just want to look a little bit more detail about Rule 20. So, I didn't do a full lecture on Rule 20 because you generally know how this goes from the previous subject matter at the rules of civil procedure. So it's a longer rule and there's a lot to cover in this exam. So don't worry about the details. I mean, you could do a whole quiz of 20 marks on Rule 20 standing alone. What I think it's very important for you to know is just the broad strokes, okay? So I'm just going to record the time, 11:30 for Rule 20, okay? So what I want you to just know the broad strokes of what happens. So if you look at it, the definitions, creditor means a person who is entitled to enforce an order for the payment or recovery of money. Debtor means a person against whom an order for the payment or recovery of money may be enforced. Okay, so notice that there is a metamorphosis of, at Rule 20 when a party becomes a debtor or a creditor. And so that's sort of, the plaintiff defendant, the rules change because we now have an order in play. So the real step is what efforts might the creditor take to secure the money that they are now owed on account of the order. So just, the delivery of personal property, a certificate of judgment, the general. Understand the forms when it deals with Rule 20. And the big ones, right? Seizure of personal property, writ of seizure and sale of personal property, garnishment, notice of garnishment, certificate of judgment, what forms, what documents are required. Again, there's a lot, so it's not going, we could do a whole quiz on Rule 20. We're not. This is a broadly covered exam that you will have to know, with some exceptions, Rule 9 to 20. Okay, the exception being 11. But again, you just have to have an understanding of what to do, how to get from the order that the creditor has to the money that they have. So I think we'll stop it there. I want to check that. I want to go with the federal court. I want to talk a little bit about the federal court because it's important you understand that this book does not contain any federal rules, okay? This is the Ontario Annual Practice used in the courts of Ontario for Ontario-based civil litigation. The federal court, and my video, which hopefully you've watched by now, talks a lot about sort of the constitutional nature of the breakdown of the courts, okay? So we have, as you know, and the Constitution Act 1867 has Section 91 and 92. 92 sets out the provincial responsibilities. The provincial head of power. Section 92 deals with the federal responsibilities. So that is the jurisdiction of the Federal Court of Canada. So again, well, you will, because you're going to be doing this on the internet, so it's assumed that you have the internet to look up other things during the exam. You do, strictly speaking, have the Federal Court Act and the Federal Court rules available to you. This isn't an exam on those rules in great significant detail. So the questions I gave you were in some detail, but that was just to get you thinking about the federal court. Take what I asked you to learn in that document, put it on your study sheet, and then you more or less don't really need the rules so much, because if you were doing this in a pre-COVID-19 world, you wouldn't have the federal rules as well as the provincial rules. So the federal court section is going to be very broad. Its questions are nowhere nearly as detailed. It's just sort of a broad understanding of what we want you to know for the federal court. And believe me, the federal court rules are very similar to the civil rules of Ontario. But what you need to know is you just need to know the broad strokes, okay? So it's not something that you need to worry about the rules. Don't go out and print all the rules and spend a bunch of money on paper or ink on my account. You need to know the broad strokes of the federal court. So that's sort of it. So the constitutional origins, jurisdiction of the federal court of appeal, just sort of key sections maybe. What creates the Federal Court of Appeal, what section of the Federal Court Act, the key courts that are appealed to the Federal Court of Appeal, what it deals with, some key issues and statutes found in the Constitution. So you might want to review the Constitution Act. But again, it's not a lot of details there. So, okay, I think we'll stop it at that. We're at 17 minutes. Statutes and rules were applicable, slides posted on Blackboard, class discussions and exercises that we've talked about. So you should be fine. And again, sorry we're not doing this via WebEx. If you have any questions, I will try to get to them before Thursday. But other than that, thank you very much. Thanks for your patience. It was great teaching so many of you for 2 classes. And wow, how much time we all changed since last year at this time, and what a different world we live in. But anyway, I wish you all the very best for your future. I know you'll be very successful, and I look forward to running into you in the various courts in Southern Ontario. And I really hope you found my class, but also the program rewarding, and you enjoyed it. And so with that, I will sign off. Good luck, and we'll see you around.